So the next thing I want to talk about under Mesh Tools is the ModScrollToggle subpanel. This offers all the scroll options that we've had over time in hops that used to normally be inside of our QMenu rotation, but are no longer being used because they've been consolidated into a single tool. But these were already kind of a single tool that had special modes to them that would allow you to do particular things. But if you were a fan of these in the past, you could always just come back to these and try them out, in addition to the current form of this now, which is the ModScroll Bull Toggle. Align View is also here because, we just love this thing and can't get enough of it. So we have it placed everywhere, in addition to toggle modifiers. There's really not a whole lot to say about these, but just to go over them, modifier scroll will show your modifiers in action. So we'll take this cube and put a bevel, and then we will just step it to just add a new bevel at 50%. And we'll just do a difference and lower that. Actually, we'll select the main shape and lower its bevel. And then we'll Shift D, duplicate this, bring it down, and Control click difference to put a new bevel here. And we may want to actually investigate the second bevel that we have going on here and just make sure that everything's turning out all right. And also jump to the first bevel in the stack and just make sure it has enough segments to maintain integrity. I'll alt click in order to get things to just look right, and we'll go with sharpen to just override our sharpen settings and get the auto smooth looking just right. So we have this shape and it's already built up out of a few modifiers, so we have a little bit of a stack happening. So we can continue on, and by that I mean we can add this boolean. And one way I also like to deal with booleans is I'll go through the mod scroll, and whenever I locate the boolean I want, I'll actually move it up different levels. So notice that while I'm shift scrolling this, I'm actually moving this up the boolean level of bevel that's actually interacting with it. So normally I would have actually cut this in at the third level here, but instead I actually cut it at the first level instead of, well, at the second level, with this being the third level. But that as an alternative to cutting it directly at the third level. So to show that again, we'll duplicate this and just notice what happens. So I'm going to perform a difference, and so right now I'm actually cutting on the same level as this area here, and you could tell that by adjusting the bevel width and actually seeing how it interacts with this. But notice that instead what I did was I went through basically and used Bullscroll and then scrolled this up the stack until I was above the first one. So now whenever I'm adjusting it, this area is individual and these areas are constrained to basically the third bevel level that we have here. So continuing on, if we go under Mesh Tools and we look under our toggles, we have Modifier Scroll. So if we bring this up, basically it allows you to do a mod scroll. So this thing should already be familiar to you. It's deeply integrated into the previous options that we showed of ModScrollToggle. The next one we'll talk about is Object Scroll, which will allow you to scroll through the bulls. We call this Bullscroll because it allows you to scroll through your bull shapes. The next one we'll talk about is Cycle Booleans, which will basically let you individually see all your booleans one-on-one. This one turned out to be a little bit problematic in the past and didn't have the most utility to us, but we kept it around just in case it turned out that there might be some scenario in which you might need to see your booleans one by one. The next one I want to show is Additive Scroll. Additive Scroll is the one that I show all the time, where basically it will scroll through your booleans in order and just show only your boolean modifiers. The interesting thing about all of these scrolls is you can press L, and then when you scroll it will just loop endlessly, which I like to do whenever I'm showing GIFs or screenshots online, just showing how my process is able to be repeatable, or at least is still live at this moment in time. So continuing on, if we go back under this, you can also see the current version that we have located in the main area of the Q menu here. It's also located here for reasons that don't make it entirely the most sense, but we wanted to keep all of our scrolls in an area where you could historically look at them as time goes on, just in case they get replaced or consolidated into something down the road, and mainly for legacy users. Align view is here, which we've already talked about as the quickest way to align your view, especially if you're on a laptop. I suppose that it's also added here just in the event that you're unable to have it in your main Q menu, or I didn't have it in Alt V. Just one more place you're able to locate it. And then finally, toggle modifiers, which will allow you to just toggle your modifiers off and on. The same one that's actually located inside your properties here. But because of the way I used it, I actually toggled the booleans off first. So the one that's here actually toggles every modifier off, and then allows you to turn every modifier back on, versus the one in Mesh Tools will allow you to toggle only the booleans off, and then you can go back and it will actually toggle the booleans back on. So these toggles are mainly associated with the boolean workflow, but now they're no longer as needed because we're more heavily focused on modifiers as a whole.